What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new Adidas Nemeziz Tango 17 Plus 360 Agility in the launch Dust Storm Pack colorway. Now this is a very interesting shoe for so many different reasons. One, they look like ninja shoes. Two, it's a laceless boot. Three, it's an interesting indoor variation of the Nemeziz 17 Plus 360 Agility, where they've made modifications to the shoe, completely eliminating the torsion tapes and going for the entire upper being made out of the agility bandages, which is cool looking, but it also contradicts a lot of what they were preaching with the design of the standard Nemeziz 17 Plus 360 Agility, and we'll get into that in just a second. And to top all of that interesting stuff off, they're expensive at $200 US as the full retail price. So if you want to learn more about these, stick around and watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below in the description. That'll take you to the review page on my website where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $200 retail price. Now, they do come with a string bag inside the box as a nice little extra, but that should be expected given that this is the most expensive indoor shoe currently available. So what are these things all about? One, it's laceless, and you know that I haven't been crazy about laceless shoes in the past. Obviously that's Adidas's big thing now. Some people love it, some people like myself don't care for it as much, and I'm going to say right off the bat, this does not have the best lockdown overall, not just because it's laceless, but because of the design choice they've made with this particular upper. So you're going to notice the branding right here on the medial side of the midsole. It says 360 Agility bandages, and that is basically the entire construction of the upper on the outside as well as on the inside, although there is an internal liner basically wrapping the entirety of the upper aside from the very top right here, basically from where between my two fingers, where it's just straight up agility bandages overlapping themselves. And you actually do have more overlapping agility bandages on this shoe than what you'll find on the Nemeziz 17 Plus firm ground boot, which I actually think feels a little bit better on this particular model. But the fact that they haven't included the torsion tapes, which if you don't really understand the basis for having agility bandages and the torsion tapes being the diagonal strips that run where it actually says Nemeziz normally, those are actually stiffer pieces of material. It's still in tape band form, but they're not elasticated like the agility bandages. And the reason why they put non-elasticated straps or non-elasticated sections in this particular situation through the forefoot, the midfoot, and the heel area is so the entire upper isn't elasticated. Because if everything is stretchy, that means that when you make those quick, intense cuts, those changes of direction, the upper is going to have some rigidity to it. You don't want everything to be super, super stretchy. But with this particular design, they decided that would be perfectly fine. Let's just make an entirely elasticated upper. And that's basically what these feel like. You put them on, and the way that it wraps your foot, the way that it feels is pretty cool. It's comfortable. It stretches around your foot and then kind of compresses to your foot. The problem is that it doesn't really take a lot of force at all to make those elasticated bands stretch again. So what you'll find is that once you start running around, the lockdown isn't all that fantastic. There is that tendency of your heel that really wants to come out because there's nothing that's really forcing your heel and locking it in place. This just stretches far too easily for that to happen, especially if you're a bigger guy. And then you also find that because this doesn't have the Agility Knit 2.0 in the forefoot area with the torsion tape, which is normally the more secure section of the foot, this is just elasticated right here. So you actually feel these seams across the top of your toe, which I'm not crazy about. And it stretches. It's just a really weird sensation. There's a lot of elasticated sensation to this particular shoe. So if you like that super, super secure, tight, locked in feel, these aren't necessarily going to provide that. Another thing that's interesting about this particular design is that they chose to leave a lot of the agility bandages on the outside completely exposed. So you'll find some fused material like a polyurethane top layer with non-stop grip dots, believe it or not. Not sure why that was incorporated there because this is probably not a shoe you want to wear in the wet. But you have these overlays running through the forefoot and toe box area, very, very thin around the edge of the toe box. And in the forefoot, not only to add structure to the shoe, because it does add some structure, it prevents those areas of the elasticated bandages to stretch. I guess it doesn't prevent them from stretching entirely, but they stretch less in those areas of the foot. but it's also there in the high wear zones, of course, so you're not rubbing concrete or asphalt or whatever kind of street soccer type environment you might wear these in directly against the agility bandages, which would obviously have some negative effects. But because you have this kind of lower cut towards the toe fuse material on top, you actually can feel where the fuse material starts and ends, which kind of takes away from the natural sensation that I think they were trying to deliver with this particular shoe. And you'll be able to see it when I actually put the shoes on, in that this part of the upper stretches, but as soon as that part, the actual polyurethane kind of starts, that part of the upper does not stretch, which again is really, really unusual. It's not the best locked in sensation, but they definitely are comfortable. I can't take that away from the shoes whatsoever. So overall, interesting design, not for me personally, but I guess if you have $200 to spend on an indoor shoe, or even if you want to wear these casually, they're very, very comfortable to wear around. You can wear them all day long and not have any issues with it. But if you want the best locked in, outright responsive, high performing indoor shoe, this is not necessarily what you want to buy. As far as touch on the ball is concerned, because it's just these agility bandages, it feels pretty good. It's on the thinner side overall, and because you do have overlapping agility bandages, it's not super, super thin, but it is on the thinner side. Really no complaints in regards to touch. It feels pretty good. It's just when you start moving more quickly, you feel the stretchiness of the upper. There's an instability that comes with that. There's a lack of responsiveness that comes with that. A lack of lockdown in the heel and midfoot area. That again, it's really a matter of personal preference. If you're down for the laceless thing with Adidas and you've worn their laceless shoes, you're likely going to love these things. But if you're skeptical of not having sufficient lockdown and not having sufficient stability, these probably aren't going to be the best option for you. As far as other quirks of the upper are concerned, you have basically what is kind of considered a mid-cut design. I think this is low cut though. That's what it feels like when you're wearing them. On the underside of this top agility banded strip, you are going to find the little kind of silicone, I guess, grips on the underside to hold this in place, even though it still will slide around on you as you wear them in. You're going to find that the inside heel liner is pretty much the same as the regular Nemeziz 17 Plus. It's a nice synthetic suede with a good amount of padding back there, so no complaints in that area of the shoe. The insole is fully removable. I'll give you guys a quick look at that. It features a really nice synthetic suede liner on top, some perforations throughout. It's just a single layer of this black foam. Nothing too fancy, pretty standard Adidas insole. And then through the midsole, which the bottom of this shoe is not a new design. The upper is completely new, but the indoor outsole, the outsole and the midsole are completely, I guess, recycled from previous indoor models from Adidas. And honestly, it's the cheapest part of the shoe, which is a bit of a bummer considering that it is a $200 product. So you have some foam midsole here running through the heel, basically through the midfoot, and then basically in the forefoot, it's just the padding from the insole that you're gonna get. So these are extremely low profile. If you like a lot of underfoot cushioning, these are not gonna provide that. Then you can see on the bottom, you actually have what is two separate pieces. So there's a rubber chunk here and a rubber chunk for the forefoot. This middle part right here with the kind of, I guess, wavy design, that's just straight up foam. So that can get chewed up if you play frequently on asphalt. Keep that in mind as well. And as far as the actual traction pattern and rubber is concerned, it's a decent thickness of rubber, but the actual traction pattern is a lot of flat rubber, which on an indoor court, unless it's really, really clean, doesn't offer the greatest traction. On asphalt, concrete, street soccer type environment, it's not that big of a deal, and it's gonna be fairly durable in that type of situation. But if you're planning to use these on any kind of a dusty court, don't expect the traction to be very good, because it just isn't very good with this particular traction pattern because it is so dense and so flat on the surface. Again, kind of a cheap indoor bottom. It doesn't match the quality of the rest of the boot in my opinion. As far as other performance aspects of the shoe are concerned, the only other thing to mention here, other than the fit, which we'll get to in a second, is the weight of the shoe. And it is size 9 US. These guys weigh in at 9.7 ounces, which I think that's probably something that would be surprising to a lot of people just based on how they look. They look extremely thin, they look extremely low profile. I described them as ninja shoes at the start of the video, and you would expect them to be almost weightless, and that is unfortunately not the case, and I'm not exactly sure where all the weight comes from, because the upper, I guess these agility bandages are heavier than we think they are, but it's not a super lightweight shoe on feet. There are definitely lighter, low profile shoes of this style that you can buy. The Nike Mercurial Elastico Finale comes to mind, not Nike Mercurial, it's not called that anymore, it's the Mercurial X Finale, sorry, comes to mind as a an option of this style being a thin, light, tight-fitting shoe, and also very, very low profile, but it's also going to be half the price, and I would argue fits better, offers better performance in regards to lockdown and responsiveness. But that's besides the point. If you're looking for a super lightweight feel from your indoors, even though these look light, they aren't necessarily the lightest thing in the world. Very, very flexible though. As far as the look is concerned, honestly, I think they look really cool. I know not everybody's a fan of the Nemeziz design, and I guess this kind of takes it to the next extreme in that you have more stripes and more bandages running throughout the entire upper. That's basically the entire construction of the shoe. It doesn't have the Nemeziz branding written anywhere on the shoe aside from on the back, and they kept things very, very simple here, just going straight up black and white. No solar yellow accent here whatsoever. The neon yellow you'd normally have in the stripes, which are white in this situation, and the Nemeziz branding in white on the back. And I also really like the printed on stripes through the midsole as well. And then the bottom, white and black, pretty straightforward. Not gonna notice that as much when you're wearing them, but not something I would wear casually, but I think from an aesthetic standpoint, for a modern style indoor shoe, I think these look very, very cool. But let me know your opinions on that down below in the comment section. That's enough about tech specs though. Let's take a look at how these things fit and feel on feet. So getting them on, being that it is laceless, is pretty straightforward, especially considering how stretchy this middle part is. Like I said, these are elasticated. There's some compression once you actually put them on, but it stretches really easily. It does not take a lot of force, which is why when you have these on, once you start running around, you'll find that there's a lot of movement to the upper, which from an objective performance standpoint is not the greatest thing when you're talking about lockdown. Again, putting them on, really, really easy. And the fact that you can get them on this easily just means that there's not as much lockdown happening here. Generally, if the shoe has really good lockdown and there aren't laces, it would be extremely difficult to get on, and that is just not the case here. So once they're on, again, they fit really, really nicely. If you just put these on and kind of just walk around the store and see how they look in the mirror, you're gonna be like, wow, these are super, super comfortable. I'm really impressed. But until you start running around in them, you kind of realize, oh my gosh, these are basically just socks with a sole strap to the bottom, which sounds great as a concept, but from an actual performance standpoint, it's not incredible. And you guys can see again where I talked about the fuse, you can see that it's clearly staying in place where you have the fuse, but kind of stretching in the areas that are just straight up agility bandage, which kind of feels unusual. And again, it allows you to really notice the lack of a lockdown with this particular upper overall. Is this a bad thing? No, not necessarily, but again, it depends on what you want. Be aware that if you're buying this, it's not gonna have that super high-end, tight-fitting, locked-in responsive sensation that I think a lot of people might expect from this particular product. As far as the overall fit is concerned though, it's a nice snug fit. They definitely don't fit overly tight. If you like your shoes to feel really, really tight on your feet, these are not for you because obviously because it is laceless, you don't have any adjustability. You put them on and that's the way that they're gonna fit. As far as width is concerned, because pretty much the entire upper is elasticated, these are gonna fit just about anybody, regardless of the width of your foot and the shape of your foot. So I guess in that regard, it is a good thing. So most people probably not gonna have any issues in regards to fit. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So that is pretty much it, guys, for my review of the Nemeziz Tango 17 plus 360 agility indoors. Are they worth $200? I think it's a very cool shoe. It's a cool experience to wear them, but do I think it's the best performing indoor shoe given the extremely steep retail price? No, not necessarily. Anyways, if you guys are interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can click the little eye in the corner of the screen or the first link down below in the description. That'll take you to the review page on my website where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $200 retail price. If you have any questions regarding this shoe, leave them down below in the comments and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.